Surveillance is the discrete observation of places, persons, vehicles for the purpose of obtaining information concerning identities or activities of a subject. We use surveillance to locate a criminal and to study his or her habits, their movements, possible accomplices, in order to identify criminal activity. The objectives of surveillance is to detect criminal activities, discover the identity of persons who frequent establishments, determine their relationships. For example, there may be a restaurant where the criminals will meet. Well, there are going to be people there who are legitimate customers who are there to purchase their food, eat, and leave. There are going to be others who are coming there for the meetings to be able to determine who these people are, to discern habits of a person who lives in or frequents a certain place. Key thing of surveillance to obtain evidence of a crime, in some cases to prevent the commission of a crime. We would call that a stakeout, where we are going to, maybe we have information that a crime is about to occur. Law enforcement officers would be staked out on the location and an attempt to arrest the perpetrator before the crime occurs. Shadowing or tailing is basically a method of trying to detect criminal activities. You're basically following someone to establish the associations of a subject, just seeing who they're meeting with, finding a wanted person. Maybe you follow somebody that you know to find that person who is acting as a fugitive. In one case, we used a girlfriend to entice the boyfriend to come out. We had a warrant for the boyfriend. So we shadowed her, and he appeared. We were able to make the arrest. Shadowing, you have loose tails, just to get a general impression of the suspect's habits and associates. This may be done early on. You're not too worried if you lose the subject. You pick up the next day where you left off. You're just trying to get a lay for the area, maybe get people accustomed to you being in the area. Rough shadowing is when there's counter surveillance techniques being used. A person that suspects they may be tailed may do things such as make 4 right turns, because normally a car is not going to follow you through 4 right turns. Or they may go the wrong way down a one-way street, get on the interstate and speed up to 90 miles an hour and then slow down to 40 miles an hour. Get off at an exit and turn and go back to the previous exit. Walk down the street, cross in the middle of the street, walk back in the other direction. Things to try to throw off somebody who may be surveilling them. And in a case like that, where you want to get to the close tail, where you're using a lot of manpower to prevent losing the subject, and that way the counter surveillance is not picked up. And this is where you will have different types of vehicles. You will have people dressed in different ways, able to change dress. So a man may have on a shirt with a tie. He can put on a sport coat. He can take the sport coat off, put a jacket on, take the tie off, put on a ball cap, change from dress shoes to a tennis shoe, change jewelry, take off a wedding band, take off a watch, put on a different type of watch, sunglasses, reading glasses, things like this, just to change the appearance and appear to blend in, but also changing those things that may show that a person, I've seen this person before several times over the last few hours or whatever. Stakeout, stationary surveillance of a location. Again, to observe criminal activity. Sometimes we have a tip that a person is going to hit, or we suspect that a person is going to hit maybe a certain area. Watching for traffic patterns coming and going. A lot of this is being done by video surveillance today. If we're looking for certain traffic patterns or whatever, instead of having, as you see in the movies, the surveillance van, they're now using closed circuit TV. It's being transmitted to another location. It's easy to install. It's easy to conceal. It's hard to detect. So these are things that can be helpful in increasing your effectiveness. The state cap may again be waiting for a suspect to arrive or leave in a certain area. Some of the concerns that we look at with surveillance are Fourth Amendment issues, just general considerations here. In public places, there's no expectation of privacy, so surveillance in a public place is not a problem. Surveillance into a private area is a problem. I mentioned the issue of maybe placing a closed circuit TV. Well, if I'm using that to look onto somebody's private property, I may be running into some legal concerns. I need to be working with my prosecutor's office to make sure I'm not doing anything that would be illegal or to anything that would compromise the integrity of the investigation. Other electronic surveillance, telephone interception requires under federal law. Wiretapping laws are very strict and requires a whole set of guidelines, but also not just a telephone interception, but if I'm listening in with a boom mic or anything like that, any interception of conversations that I'm not a party to or I don't have a consenting party to, then I'm going to have a court order, and that's a very hard thing to get at this level. Now, what I can do is if I've got an informant or an undercover person going in, I can have them wired listening in on the conversation, or I can have them go to a hotel room where I have a wire set up. As long as one of my parties in there is consenting to it, I'm usually good. I have to caution myself here and use the term usually. At the federal level, there's no problem. At most state level, there's no problem. Some cases, the states require both party consent to an interception like this. So if I'm in a state that requires two-party consent, again, I need to be working with my local prosecutors to make sure it's okay for me to be doing electronic eavesdropping. Now, bird dogs or fireflies are devices that would be placed on a vehicle or upon a container to track it. And again, that's an electronic surveillance issue that you have to be concerned with. While it's in a public place, there's no problem. Monitoring these things when they're in private places may be a legal problem. You normally have to turn those off when a vehicle would enter into a private area.